Dark. I gotta take this off. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to Coffee with Mr. IoT and Misconnected. Actually, now we changed that. It's welcome to Coffee with Misconnected and Mr. IoT. My name is Robert Schmid, and today my guest is actually Kelsey Carvell, my co-host. And we have actually had you on the show now a few times. You've been co-hosting with me for a while, but we've actually never really officially introduced you. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to say hi, welcome. It's great to have you. You've been an awesome addition. How did this all come about, Kelsey?
Yeah, I think how it really came about was you and I were back-to-back presenting at an internal showcase. So it was our digital supply network showcase, and the showcase was really a great event. It brought together several of our professionals, across different industries to really talk about what we're doing together and how we're coming together as a practice. So specifically, what I mean by that is we used to be really siloed, and now we're really all one big team, bringing our technology, our strategy, our IoT practices together. And this showcase was really the kickoff of that. So it was pretty cool because each day we had different features, different panels. And on the second day, we tried to spice it up a little bit and play a game. And I happened to be the lucky contestant of that game. So, you led a panel with several external folks, which I really enjoyed and appreciated. And then I was on stage next, and ad hoc was asked the question, what was your favorite part of the day so far? And it was really your panel. So I think we kind of hit it off. And had some chemistry in how we interacted with the crowd, how we interacted with people. And I really think that was the way that we thought, this would be fun to do together on a more often cadence, on a weekly cadence. And I think that's really how this came about. How did it come about from your perspective? Was it a similar process?
I think there's just something about your enthusiasm and your energy that I really enjoyed. And I love having a second person with me on the show because it makes it not only easier for me, but I think it gives it some variety. And in general, I actually want a person that sort of is a bit, I don't want to say contrarian, but sort of like pushes back on stuff I say and has different thoughts and opinions. And that was you. And so I came up to you and asked you if you'd be interested. And what I loved about this was that you were so like, yes, I'm in. And it was like, I love that answer. That's why I asked you. So yeah, that's how it came about for me. It was really your enthusiasm. I have a question for you. That enthusiasm, does that also show up at your clients and in your regular day-to-day life?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that everything that we're doing right now is just the most exciting time to be a part of our profession. So, I've been in a couple different careers in my background and had a couple different roles and responsibilities. But I'm a physicist by training, and I love solving problems with math and science and really figuring out how the world connects and really how we all got here in the first place. So right now is such a great time because I also, love to work with people, and I also love to actually do things that are relevant to creating value. And right now, that's really what we're doing with our clients is we're able to bring all of that together, bring together connected technologies, bring together all the math and science in a really pretty easy way, because of the technologies and because of the change in cost for those. So it's really pretty an exciting time to be a part of it. And I absolutely bring the enthusiasm because when you are trying to change an organization or trying to change the way someone's done things for 40, 50 years, you have to be positive and be excited about it to really create a followership.
It's funny when you talked about you being a physicist. I just had a long flight yesterday, and at the end of the flight, I entertained myself with some TV, and I watched Big Bang Theory. I was just sort of like, I don't know if you've seen it. I was just reflecting. Are we like sitting on Big Bang Theory here? Do I have to choose a certain spot? Anyhow, I'm sorry, I'm digressing here. Um, you talked about your background. I'm curious. Tell us a little bit about how long have you been with Deloitte? What has been your background after you became a physicist? Yeah, love to. I'd love to hear about it, and I'd love our audience to hear about where you come from.
Yeah, so my love for physics and just problem solving started at a really pretty young age. I took a summer course, and my teacher was like, we're all going out to the parking lot. And so we had all these young kids sitting in the parking lot, and he had this, it was like a 1970s Bronco. It was just this old rusted out truck. And we're all standing in the parking lot. We have no idea what he's doing. And he's this, kind of a crusty old guy. I'm from North Dakota, so this kind of crusty old farmer-looking guy who's our physics instructor. And he drives by, and he's just laying on the horn, just like laying on it. And he drives by us really slowly. And then he gets out, and he's like, so that was our first lesson. Like, what happened when I drove by? And he made learning about, sound and frequency and how signals change, based on whether they're coming toward you or going away from you, really applicable and real. And from that moment forward, I started to apply all of my lessons to my life. Went to school, studied physics, studied modern physics, ended up being a medical physicist. So worked in a hospital setting for some time, supporting oncologists with cancer therapy. For me, it was a little tough. It was a tough field to be in. So went back to school as an electrical engineer, got a graduate degree in that, and continued on as a researcher for quite a few years before I got into the business side. So in the business side, I worked a lot, both on screening technologies, helping big medical device companies really figure out how to grow their portfolio in different ways. So starting again on the technical side, but ended up taking over an M&A portfolio for about 3 or 4 years, living in Dubai and growing the emerging markets. And, that was just a great experience living over there and working with different cultures and different industries and supporting my company grow and buy companies. And that's when I found my way to Deloitte. So they had this little innovation practice that they were trying to grow about 4 years ago. And they wanted folks with different experience, a different blend of technical and business experience that could really create new products and new tools for us to go to market. So worked in that innovation group, created a product to help us actually screen companies for M&A, do it with a lot of disparate data sources and machine learning to help our clients really do that quickly and easily and not worry that they're leaving something out. So I did that, and then eventually worked my way into strategy and operations and supply chain, where I continue to leverage tools like that and build tools like that, but also really support clients' journey in digital supply networks. So definitely wasn't a linear journey, but that's not really my personality. Yeah, I like to go where there's new and exciting and opportunities exist. So it's been a really fun journey, and I've tried to soak up all the learnings on the way. How about you, though? What's your background? What's your journey? How did you get here?
Oh my God. Well, I do this at interviews often. I ask people to give me the 2-minute version of their background. I'm gonna try to do the 60-second version. I'm originally Austrian, as you probably know, but I have a master's in petroleum engineering. Started my career figured I needed more finance background and joined Procter & Gamble in Europe. And then at Procter & Gamble, I realized I was liking system projects more than doing finance work. I was good at the numbers, I was good at spreadsheets, but I really enjoyed the systems work way more. Like the more complicated the puzzle was, the more excited I got. And then if you go on top of it and you tell me, Robert, you can't do that, that's like the biggest motivator. So if you ever want to go and like challenge me, go tell me you can't do that, because I'm gonna have to. My inner thing tells me you need to do that. I'm extending on my 60 seconds. So in any case, after that, I came to the US, joined a consulting firm because I was doing large SAP implementations, and I started in SAP. Doing implementations for a variety of companies here. Joined Deloitte actually, and then started doing some e-business, as it was called. Now it's called e-commerce, and I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's funny to think about that. The web was its own thing, and now it's everywhere. Outsourcing, and then left. Took some time off, sailed halfway around the world with my family. I took my sabbatical. Some people said I had my midlife crisis early. I decided I can't wait until I retire for doing stuff like this. And worked in industry, actually. I worked at Activision for a while, was their CIO, did a bunch of IT stuff. In general, my background is now lately been IT, information technology. And then I came back to Deloitte. One of the partners I worked with said to me, "Do you want to come back?" And I said, "Really, me? I don't wear blue shirts." And he said, no. We need people like you, like they said to you, right? We want innovative people from different backgrounds. And so I came back over 3 years ago and been working and leading the IoT practice since then. I just had this really, so that's my background, at least professionally. So it's also been a bit of a windy road. I've been in and out of industry. I've been in and out of small to large companies. I've done anything from 4-week startups to Fortune 100 companies. And I enjoy the variety. I mean, I think this is one of the things I enjoy the most of Deloitte, being able to do a variety of different things and helping different clients. And sure, there's something about taking a problem from one industry and bringing it to a new industry, or from one technical area, bringing it to another one. And so I just had this really super interesting experience, and I think you hinted towards this, but I went out to a plant last week, and as I said, my background is in IT, and so I've spent a lot of time on systems and information technology and so forth. And really, in a way, I didn't go back to my roots of some of my education in deep science and heavy math and statistics and so forth. I often joke about how the most complicated math we do in business is percentage calculations. And I walked into the factory and I looked at what we're doing out there from a data science point of view, and how we are taking data from machines and analyzing frequency you talked about. We're doing statistical models. We're doing predictions. That is really fancy math. And I was like, whoa, I'm bringing some of my old background together with the IT. I was just like, I'm in heaven. This is really great. So here's a 3-minute story of my background.
I know. It's so fun though, right? To see companies actually emerging and have, folks in Deloitte as well that are comfortable doing advanced mathematics to solve some of these problems. It goes so much quicker with a lot more accuracy, and you can really depend on your recommendations, which is really our value. So it's really a fun time.
By the way, if you're just joining us right now, I am Robert Schmid, the Chief IoT Technologist for Deloitte, and you're watching Coffee with Misconnected and Mr. IoT. Today on our show, we have Kelsey, who is my new co-host for now, not that new anymore, and we're just doing a back and forth in terms of, a little bit of background, getting to know Kelsey, which is great. Yeah, it's a fascinating time. What do you think about AI and machine learning? Do you have... you personally, do you have feelings when stuff like this gets recommended to you? Do you find some of the stuff creepy? Do you just find it all exciting? Do you find it overwhelming? Do you want more? Where are you on that?
So for the most part, I find it somewhat suboptimal still. Like, it's at first I was amazed, right? Like, this is great. This is really interesting. I'm excited that they can do some of this, predict some of my behaviors and my personal characteristics. But now that it's been around for a while, you wish it was more dynamic or accurate, or could predict different things about, your day or your personality. That would make it a little bit easier, because still sometimes the accuracy, your personal expectation is exponential as well. Once you've had some of these technologies and experienced some of it, and I'm kind of a tough critic on myself and on, I expect the best. And so sometimes when these come back and they're not super accurate or not, going beyond and really giving me new information. I'm like, come on, can't we do that yet? Aren't we there yet? And so it's been an interesting journey for me, and how quickly I've gone from amazed to like my expectations are so high now for the technology, because we are working with it and because we do know what it really can do for some of our service providers or the tools that we use personally on a day-to-day basis for them to catch up as well. So it's been kind of an interesting experience to go through that journey and see personally how it's come a long way. And we have still, very high expectations for it. And, I have a 7-year-old stepson as well. And it's interesting to watch his reaction and his expectations to some of these things. When he's typing in something that he wants to watch, why doesn't it come up right away? And if it doesn't, there's panic, and things like that. So it's really interesting to see how it's really changed the generations of the future and their expectations for real time. And it's going to be interesting when he goes to work and when he, enters into a company, if they don't have tools like that where he can automatically get his information to do his job. Because we all know that companies don't adopt at the same rate as we do personally. So that, I'm interested to see that journey as well in the future generations, and how things take up and how companies adjust to really attract talent that are accustomed to this advanced learning. What do you think?
So I think the first time I used it, and I didn't know I used it, was my Nest thermostat.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I didn't know I used it was because I just put it on and it ran. I didn't do anything. Suddenly there was a thermostat that just changed the temperature depending on the habits, and I really didn't touch it, and it was fascinating. Nowadays, my biggest change around this is, my biggest use of this is in my texting. So I use texting clients that actually give me proposed answers, including emojis with hearts and stuff like this, which is really creepy. And yet I use it, and I find it actually pretty good. And the only thing that happens is I feel bad. So when I go and like someone sends me something personal and I just hit, I don't know, I like it, or love you, or whatever, right? I'm like, well, was this truly a love you, or did I really actually just do Google's I love you, right? Does that count? So there's a little bit of a feeling around this, but at the end of the day, I'm really happy with that. I think the question I had for you, the question I asked myself is, where's that going to go in the business world, right? What is that going to do to our supply chain and to our machines? And in particular, what's close to me is, and you talked about this, and actually I'm curious about you, we talk about predictive maintenance a lot. What about predictive health? I really don't see as much around the machine learning and AI in healthcare as I would have expected. And I never know if this is a function of technology and adoption, or if this is a function of particularly the system, the way it is, with how many parties are involved and how many people it takes to make it all happen between doctors, payers, providers, pharma, medtech, and so forth. So I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's a great point. And really, in healthcare, it comes down to who's incentivized, right? And who has the power. So there's going to be...
shouldn't we have the power? It's my health.
Well, you would hope so. And this is where, by country, it's going to be really different, right? Because, living overseas, spending time in Europe, spending time in Asia, you can fundamentally see the difference of incentives and who's really incented for a healthy population and what that drives from policy, from technology. I was a part of a small business like you in the startup world, writing small business innovation research grants to obtain, government funding for things like this. And when you look at that, and when you look at who's incentivized from a healthcare perspective to prevent, it's a limited amount of power than who's incentivized to treat, right? And so I think we really, as a society, need to demand prevention over treatment to get technology folks to focus on this area. Because I am with you, it's not a technology limitation at all. it's really a limitation on who's incented for prevention of and essentially a healthy community or a healthy nation.
Fascinating question. I keep watching this space very actively. Let me switch for a last question here to something totally different, and if that's okay. I'm curious, as a female in Deloitte, we've had a variety of different programs in Deloitte to really promote diversity, and being not American by birth, this has been important to me to a certain extent. I actually left the company because I felt all their executive management wasn't diverse enough, and so that's something it's really important at Deloitte. But I want to know from you, how does it feel to be at a company where both CEOs, the CEO of both consulting as well as overall Deloitte, are women? Has anything changed for you? How does that feel for you? Just give me your perspective on this.
So this is a really interesting topic and an interesting question. And this has been a journey for me too, as a female professional. So I think if you asked me this question when I was in my 20s, I would have answered it potentially slightly differently. But the more senior you get and the more experience you get, the more you understand that it's important to have diverse professionals. Female is one, but diversity, needs to be across a lot of different dimensions, right? It needs to be across religion and race and other preferences as well. And if you don't see someone at the top, it almost creates that looks like you or has some of your, it almost creates a subconscious blocker that you don't deserve to be there or you won't be there. And it starts creating this kind of demotivating voice in your head. So what's interesting for me about being at Deloitte and seeing this change over the course of my time here is that it's opened up that window for me. And it's opened up that possibility for all of the female practitioners that are around me and that are just starting their careers. And it gives us hope that I could be there too. And it's worth it to work really hard. And it's an exciting place to be. And I think that's what we need, right? We need everyone that's here or that could be here to feel like they have the potential to be the best and to do the best. And that's what I think it does. It just creates a motivating factor across more of your workforce. And I think it makes us all a little bit more productive and excited about our roles, which leads to better outcomes for our company and leads to better outcomes for our clients. So I think it's a subconscious thing, and I think it's a journey, but it does really impact how you feel when you go to work and really what you could be if you stuck to it and really worked hard.
Thank you. I know it's a sensitive topic, and I have to say I'm finding it sensitive for me to ask you, right? And so I just wanted to ask you if you ever feel like, hey, I am misusing my white privilege in some way, that you're going to come and hit me over the head. Well, not literally, but maybe verbally offline or something like this. No, I mean it. It's important that we get reminded. And so thanks for talking about it. I appreciate it. Anything we haven't talked about on meeting Kelsey today that you want to close with?
Yeah, I think it's just a question for you. You talked about coming back, you talked about your journey. One of your signature things that you've brought is really this turnkey IoT. I'd love to learn a little bit more about how it started, how it got its name, and kind of where we're at right now on the journey with it with our clients.
It started in the Dallas office. I remember the office we sat in. It was a senior manager, another senior manager in the practice, Mahesh Chandramuli. He was on the show before. And it was the CTO of ThingWorx PTC that was there with us. And we sat in the Dallas office and we said, gosh, it is just too hard to put all these pieces together, because really all you need sensors for a solution. You need a platform to take all the data and stream it and do something with it. You need hardware on the edge because you can't stream everything back to the cloud. You need to do some processing right there and then. And you need some consulting, and that's just too hard. And so we said, well, what would happen if we'd all stick this in a box? And we give us and our clients a solution that we can just drop off on a client side and generate data within days practically. And we all thought that would be a great idea. We called it IoT in a box. And that name kind of was the working name. And then somewhere along the way, some people said, no, that didn't work. And then we came up with all kind of funny names. I have to admit, I rejected some of the more esoteric names. There were some names that they were just names. And I was like, are we not going to be able to really promote this? We need to give it a name that means something. So Lynch, actually, one of our marketing ladies in Seattle, she's great. She reminds me of you. She has a lot of spunk too. Said, well, this is like turnkey IoT. Why don't we call it that? And I said, that's a fantastic idea. Mm-hmm. So we named it that, and that was the start of turnkey IoT. We launched it officially last year at LiveWorks. And since then, it's really taken off. Originally, it was for manufacturing only, but now it's for a variety of industries and it's for a variety of use cases. We started out with condition-based monitoring and predictive maintenance. Today, it does asset monitoring. It's become a theme of us, sort of like the idea of starting, thinking big, starting small, scaling fast is definitely a thread throughout what we do. And then this delivering value in weeks, not months, is definitely another thread. And both of those are really enabled by turnkey IoT. So that's the short story. I'm sure there'd be lots more stories, but if you want to hear more, we'd be happy to stop by and tell you all about it. So
that's great.
Kelsey, I think we're at the end of it. I appreciate it. First of all, thanks for being on the show with me every week now. And then thanks for opening up today and telling us about your background as a physicist to how you did innovation and startup off in Dubai and all over the world, and coming back to Deloitte and being now helping companies around digital supply networks, and now being with me and even talking about how it feels to be a woman in Deloitte. I really appreciate it, or a woman in professional life in general. So thanks for that. And with that, I want to say, if you missed any of today's show, please check out our YouTube channel. You can watch all of today's show, any past shows. And otherwise, join us next week, Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, for yet another coffee with Miss Connected and Mr. IoT. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.